to start now. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you, friends, alumni, colleagues. A very special welcome to this special MasonScience series event. My name is Fernando Morales Wilhelm, and it's my honor to serve as Dean of the Mason College of Science for all of 15 weeks now, almost. There's been tremendous and appropriate focus on the trials and challenges we've all been facing during this COVID pandemic. The challenges we're facing personally and as well as being the largest public university in Virginia are very real. But I would like to say just a few words about some of the more inspiring experiences of the past few months. Our faculty and staff in the College of Science and across Mason have stepped up. They have worked tirelessly to revamp courses, learn new teaching technologies, support our students, not only in the classroom, but also in our research environments. Many of our researchers, including the ones you'll hear from this afternoon, quickly pivoted their labs and their technologies and their experiments to develop diagnostics and treatments for coronavirus. Our scientists are collaborating with scientists around the world to meet this pandemic with tested, effective solutions head on. At Mason, we've applied a scientific approach to what we call our safe return to campus. So far, with nationally recognized success, our COVID infection rates as a university are among the lowest in the country. Many of our College of Science faculty served and led the task forces that developed the university's protocols, which, by the way, are assessed and challenged daily in ongoing efforts to produce even better results. And you know, that's what science does. Science solves the world's biggest problems. As we get to know one another, you will hear me say this repeatedly. Never before has impactful science been so important. And truly impactful science is what we're going to learn more in this session. Before I introduce our scientists, I wanted just to go over some Zoom housekeeping items. I think first, this event is being recorded and a link will be shared and posted on our website after the event. Second, questions can be submitted. Your name will be anonymous at any time through using the Q&A box for the discussion session following the presentations. And we're going to keep attendee microphones, cameras, chat, and raise hand features disabled for the event just so we can keep things going. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and our scientists in the Center for Applied Proteomics and Molecular Medicine, or like we call it, CAPMM, are leading the world in groundbreaking research and treatments for this tragic disease. Dr. Liotta and Dr. Emanuel Petricoin, or as we refer to him dearly as Chip, are co-directors of CAPMM, which was established at Mason in 2005. Lance holds an MD and a PhD in bioengineering from Case Western Reserve University. He previously served as chief of the Laboratory of Pathology at the National Cancer Institute, NCI. He was deputy director of the NIH, director of the FDA clinical proteomics programs. He holds more than 100 patents and is co-author on over 700 publications. Chip earned a PhD in microbiology from the University of Maryland and previously served as co-director of the FDA NCI clinical proteomics program and as a senior investigator within the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research at the FDA. Chip is co-founder of 4 life science companies, holds over 40 filed and published patents, and is co-author on more than 400 publications. They are globally respected scientists and successful entrepreneurs who have translated their science into real-world problem-solving and life-saving applications. I would add to these impressive accolades their passion for their work and their commitment to nurturing young scientists. It is really a pleasure to walk, as I did recently, into Chip and Lance's lab and find such a vibrant, diligent working atmosphere these days. It's really uplifting. I had the experience of doing this myself. So I'll ask Chip and Lance to join me now and provide an overview of their work and introduce their colleagues who will discuss the research and clinical trials in more detail. And following the presentations, we'll discuss questions submitted by our audience. So feel free to submit those questions by the Q&A as the presentations are underway. Chip and Lance, welcome. Please give us an overview of the research expertise and technologies developed by CAPMM and introduce your colleagues.
Thank you, Fernando. Really a pleasure to be able to be able to speak today. And Lance and I will be giving a general overview first of our center, but we're not going to take too much time up for that because of all the exciting research that our three senior investigators in our center will be telling you about. So we want them to actually share the spotlight. So our Center for Applied Proteomics and Molecular Medicine is really focused on studying diseases and translating discoveries for patient benefit. We have one of the few laboratories in the United States that has a CLIA CAP accredited laboratory component to our laboratory where we can translate important findings to the bedside. We've already heard a little bit about Lance and I. We don't need to take up any more time going through that, but we have a great collaboration because of Lance's background as both an MD and a PhD in bioengineering, and my background at the FDA and as a cell signaling biologist. We've been able to work in a great partnership for many decades now, and the senior scientists you'll hear about today have been with us very long time, an essential gang of great minds in our center. Next slide, please. So our expertise really is one that traverses the bench to bedside ecosystem, addressing cancer and other debilitating diseases with expertise in proteomics, which is beyond genomics. Genomics in some ways is not old-fashioned, but it's a view that we're actually rapidly accelerating from, because almost all of the FDA-approved drugs that you take, their mechanism of action is actually against proteins, not genes. Proteins, as we say, the DNA is the building block, but it's the proteins that do the work, and they're the actual drug targets of the cell. Almost all the biomarkers that you get measured when you go to get your yearly physicals, many of those blood markers are proteins, not genes. So proteomics is actually part of our lives. We don't even recognize it. We have experts in proteomics in our laboratory, experts that are medical technologists. We have expertise in pathology, cancer research, and molecular diagnostics. And as I said, we are CAP accredited. Next slide, please. We have a research portfolio that really is, again, focused on proteins. You're going to hear in these three separate talks the importance of measuring not just the proteins, but how the proteins work and communicate in the cellular circuitry as we see. These form pathways inside the cell, and just like your GPS map on your car telling you the direction on which way to go, the way that the cell communicates internally and to its external environment are by and through proteins. These are the drug targets. They are very often the biomarkers for early detection. And of course, their identification of these contact points between proteins are novel therapeutic opportunities as well. Next slide. We have a large number of staff-invented technologies that we've been proudly able to develop and wholly invent in our laboratory. New types of tissue fixatives to new ways of capturing cells to help the pathologist in molecular analysis. new types of technologies to be able to look at the cellular circuitry and be able to tell which patient should get which drug, new types of nanotechnology that act like biomarker vacuums and allow us to detect disease even earlier, and brand new technology of protein painting as an example, which allow us to identify new ways and we can identify drug targets and new ways to interact or disrupt important interactions. Say with the COVID virus with its receptor, we're working on these types of problems in our lab every day. Next slide, please.
And I'll step in now. I'm really honored to be part of this wonderful symposium. And our CAPMM group, not only do we want to discover basic mechanisms of disease in the laboratory and then take those discoveries all the way to patient benefit in clinical trials, as you'll hear about, we also want to give back to the community. And so we have two programs I want to briefly tell you about that are ways for us to have outreach of science from the College of Science to the community around us. Our Aspiring Scientist Summer Internship Program is free for students applying, and they get to work in the laboratories of top scientists doing hands-on science, and then they present their scientific discoveries at the end of the summer. We've been doing this for 14 years. We had 1,000 applicants in 2020. This is directed by Dr. Andrea Cobb. And next slide, please. We have 439 alumni that have obtained all sorts of patents and awards and have gone on to great careers. We've been following them for 14 years, as we said, and we're very proud of the graduates of this program. It's our way of inspiring the scientific talent of the future. Next slide. We also host the Galileo Science Cafe, which is science night at Mason, by the community, for the community. And so the community around us brings up topics that they want to hear about, and we get the top scientists to talk about them, but we also maybe have celebrities like a football player or a cancer patient, and we have exciting role models as well as the latest truth about science. The goal is truth and hope about any scientific topic that the community wants us to talk about. Next. And we are very thankful for all the sponsors and granting agencies that have supported us over the years. We've been continuously funded since we came to Mason by NIH and other government granting agencies, but I want to make a special thanks for the Beck Foundation, which has supported our ACIP program and the cancer work that you'll hear about, and the Side Out Foundation, which you'll hear about, which is a unique charitable organization dedicated to breast cancer. We're very proud to have funding by them, and the I Spy program that Dr. Wolfkohl will tell you about is another groundbreaking, innovative program that support our clinical trial work. Next. So, just to review the seriousness of breast cancer, 1 in 8 women in her lifetime will develop potentially lethal breast cancer. And in this year, 2020, 276,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer, all potentially lethal breast cancer, with 50,000 new cases of pre-malignant breast cancer this year. Also in 2020, it's predicted 42,000 women will die of breast cancer, and there's 3.5 million women in the USA who have breast cancer today. This is a really urgent problem, and so we need science to guide us to improved ways for preventing breast cancer so that it never happens in the first place, for treating it once it's diagnosed and detecting it early, but also for personalizing the medicine because each patient may need their own special therapy tailored to their tumor. Next, breast cancer begins by an overgrowth of cells in the milk duct. And then next, the cells invade out of the duct and infest the entire body by entering the bloodstream, traveling to different parts of the body, and setting up secondary colonies called metastases. Once those metastases start growing, the prognosis is very, very poor. So I'm going to tell you about what the topics are covered by our three esteemed scientific colleagues who are really soldiers in the war against breast cancer. And they'll tell you about their promising clinical trials. Next, please. Dr. Espina will describe an innovative prevention treatment for stopping breast cancer before it starts by killing the early stage buildup of cells inside the milk duct that are destined to become the lethal metastasis. Next slide. Then Dr. Wolfkuhl will describe how she can map the circuitry of a patient's stage 2 or stage 3 breast cancer and use this to determine new treatments, new drugs for breast cancer, but also to individualize which drugs are going to work the best for that patient. Next. And thirdly, Dr. Marilena Parabon will describe the world's first personalized therapy trial for metastatic breast cancer supported by the Side Out Foundation. And this is a trial that personalizes which are the best drugs to give a patient who has advanced stage 4 metastatic breast cancer for which there's no real hope for how to treat them. All three are very exciting, innovative new approaches. Let me introduce our first speaker now.